The Detroit Lions taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers this Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Now, the Steelers and the Lions also play in the regular season of this year, so I'm pretty sure neither one of these teams are going to be doing anything out of the ordinary. Everything should be pretty basic. Nobody wants to reveal anything in the preseason. On top of that, you definitely don't want to reveal anything because these two teams match off again in the regular season, so everything probably is going to be basic, so don't expect anything out of the ordinary. The Steelers defeated Philadelphia 24-16 last week. Dwayne Haskins, man, he was on fire. Then you had the Lions who lost to the Buffalo Bills 16-15 in a really competitive football game. Now, I'm looking at Dwayne Haskins because there are a lot of people out there right now in the NFL world who have their eyes on Dwayne Haskins. What Tupac said, all eyes on me. Dwayne Haskins is all eyes on you, buddy, because you've been balling out. Ever since you got signed by Pittsburgh a couple of months ago, man, you've done nothing but great things. You've been raved about the coaching staff, by the organization, and a lot of people think that the Steelers are just gassing up Dwayne Haskins, just a gas. But let me tell you guys something. If you get praise from Mike Tomlin, it's not no BS. Mike Tomlin is a non-BS coach. He's going to let you know if you're playing well. He's also going to let you know when you're not playing good, i.e. Kevin Dotson. So when you look at Dwayne Haskins, nobody's trying to gas up Dwayne Haskins like a lot of you Washington fans are trying to make it out to see. If you're watching this, Dwayne Haskins has actually been performing at a really good level. And in this game, hopefully, I will hope that he ends up starting. I would like to see what he can do with the ones going against the starters for the Detroit Lions. Mason Rudolph keeps on getting these number one reps and he keeps starting the game out, but I want to see more of Dwayne Haskins. And it's really impressive how Dwayne Haskins has performed with the second team offense. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, JT's going to get second and third stringers on defense, but y'all got to remember that he's playing with second and third stringers also, so he's been really good. Now for Detroit, I want to look at their linebackers, man, because what I saw from Buffalo last week, man, I was extremely disappointed. Buffalo, Devin Singletary was doing a lot of damage to the run defense of Detroit. So I want to see how these linebackers for Detroit look, because last week, man, I wasn't really all that impressed with how the linebackers performed, man. And when you look at the talent that Detroit has on the defensive line, they have a lot of talent. Not only do they have a lot of talent from their starters, but they also have a lot of depth as well. So I want to see how these linebackers perform in this game. Hopefully they can have a better showing. And Pittsburgh hasn't really put a lot of emphasis on running the football as much as I would hope during the preseason. They pretty much have been throwing the football a lot more than what I was hoping. I was hoping that we could see them run the ball way more than what they have been doing. But the Steelers' offensive line going on against the Lions' defensive line is probably going to be the biggest focal point to watch for these two teams, simply for the fact that the Steelers' offensive line has a lot of question marks from a lot of people around the NFL fandom. A lot of people think that Steelers currently have the worst offensive line, if not the worst, or one of the worst in the league. And I think that going against the Detroit Lions defensive line is going to be a really great test for the Steelers, because I think that this is the best defensive line that the Steelers are going to be faced off against during the preseason. When you look at Detroit, man, they have a lot of great players on that defensive line. Not only do you have guys who can get after the quarterback, but you also have guys who are really stout against the run also. So for the Steelers, the offensive line has played pretty well during the preseason so far, but I really feel like the Detroit Lions defensive line is probably going to be their biggest test that they're going to face during the preseason. The Lions secondary is going to get tested in this game against the Steelers wide receivers, because the Steelers have a lot of depth and a lot of talent at wide receiver. We saw Deontay Johnson make some plays. You got Juju Smith-Schuster. You also have guys like James Washington, Anthony Johnson, the guy who kind of was on the bubble of making it on the team and not making it on the team. I think with another good showing, he could probably cement his role on this roster. So there are a lot of great players at the wide receiver position for Pittsburgh. And for the Detroit Lions, cornerback is kind of like a concern. You do have talent there. You do have Emmanuel Rouye, but you still want to see a little bit more out of the secondary. Now, Jeff Okuda, I want to see how he performs in this game, man, because he's going to get a lot of work in against the Steelers wide receiving core. Like, I think that this is going to be a great test for Jeff Okuda, depending on whichever wide receiver he ends up getting matched up against, whether that be Deontay Johnson or maybe he's lined up against Anthony Johnson. Like, there's a lot of good wide receivers on Pittsburgh that definitely could test Jeff Okuda in terms of how far he is going into year 2 of his NFL career. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes out on the Lions secondary. But overall, man, like, if you're looking at some interesting positions to keep tabs on, you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes on the Steelers offensive line taking on the Lions D-line and the Lions secondary versus the Steelers wide receivers, because I feel like these two position groups are definitely going to be able to push each other. And definitely, if you're a fan of either one of these teams, you're going to have a good indicator in terms of how far your team is at a certain position. Penny Sewell, not really down in my notes, but I remember that last week he got beat by rookie Gregory Rousseau of the Buffalo Bills. So I want to see how he's going to do in this game also. Now, I didn't watch the whole entire game. As a matter of fact, I don't really know how many downs Penny Sewell played. But when I was watching the first couple of drives of the Lions, he got beat by Gregory Rousseau outright. It wasn't, it wasn't nothing crazy, it was rookie on rookie, man on man, 1-on-1, and Gregory Rousseau came out on top. He got the sack. So I want to see how Penny Sewell looks. I understand he's a rookie. I ain't tripping off it. I ain't saying, oh, Penny Sewell's the best, anything like that. Before you Lions fans start attacking me, talking about some, oh, man, it's just the preseason. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I'm keeping tabs, and I'm pretty sure you Lions fans are keeping tabs as well. You don't really want to see your rookie giving up sacks, rather that be the preseason or the regular season when you draft him as high as you did. So I'm just saying, I'm just keeping tabs, man. I'm keeping tabs, man. So Penny Sewell, I want to see how he performs in this game. Like I said, Gregory Rousseau beat him fair and square, 1-on-1. Not saying he's a bust or anything like that. I'm just saying that's something to keep in mind. You definitely want to see your rookie off the tackle who you invested a high first-round pick in perform well. So I'm looking at him in this game. The Steelers' defensive line has been really good during the preseason when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback. I don't really know about how I feel about the run defense. I feel like it could be better, but I definitely feel like when you look at the offensive line for Detroit, like it's really stout. Like you have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I'm also going to be looking at wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is going to end up being one of the best rookie wide receivers. As a matter of fact, if you're looking at this from a fantasy football standpoint, him and Devontae Smith are the only two rookie wide receivers who I would feel comfortable drafting and actually starting right away if I had to. Amon-Ra St. Brown made a couple of impressive plays last week against the Buffalo Bills, and I think he's going to be really deadly coming out the slot, man. Like a lot of people are talking about Elijah Moore with the New York Jets. We don't even know where Elijah Moore ranks on the depth chart. When it comes to Amon-Ra St. Brown, like he has been getting a lot of great reviews during training camp, and he showed that during the last week's preseason loss against the Buffalo Bills. Like there's a lot of people that just gas up their rookies, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, like I feel like the praise that he has garnered so far has been well deserved. And it looks like him and Jared Goff already have good chemistry because he was targeted or looked that way by Jared Goff a pretty good amount. So I want to see how Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to perform in this game. I have high expectations for him. I already drafted him on like 3 of my fantasy football teams. Jeff Okuda, like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a game that if you are a Lions fan that you need to pay close attention to, because it doesn't get no better than the wide receiver position that the Steelers currently have right now. Like the Steelers are absolutely loaded at every position on the wide receiver core. So for Jeff Okuda, no matter if he gets matched up against Deontay Johnson or whoever, he's going to get tested. If you're a Lions fan, hopefully he gets matched up against Deontay Johnson, because that currently, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver on the Steelers roster right now in terms of being able to do everything. He runs great routes. He's good getting off the line. The only thing about Deontay Johnson is can he hold on to the football. So hopefully we get to see Deontay Johnson matched up against Jeff Okuda. I think that will be a really interesting battle to watch. Now, my players to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we already talked about Dwayne Haskins. All eyes are on Dwayne Haskins. He was going trending last week for like a brief period of time on Twitter for how he performed. A lot of people feel like he can be the franchise quarterback to lead the Pittsburgh Steelers after Big Ben retires. We'll see about that. Cornerback Justin Lane. every time it feels like Justin Layne, man, is out of the cornerback conversation for the second cornerback spot or the slot cornerback position, he always ends up finding a way to make plays. Now, Justin Layne hasn't had a really good offseason, hasn't really gotten a lot of great reviews about training camp. He struggled. He struggled in a couple of preseason games as well. He struggled in the Hall of Fame game. He also struggled last week, but he did have that one good interception. So anytime it feels like Justin Layne is about to get fizzled out of the conversation, he always finds a way to make a play, which is something that I have a lot of respect for, his resilience. Then I'm looking at running back Anthony Mcfarland. Anthony Mcfarland has been the second best running back on the Steelers roster so far. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, what about Jalen Samuels? Well, what about Jalen Samuels? Like, Anthony Mcfarland looks like a completely better back this year than what he did last year. Like, I'm really impressed with Anthony Mcfarland. Then you got Robert Spelaine. Now, Robert Spelaine, man, he's in a really tough spot because last year he played fairly well in replace of the injured Devin Bush, but apparently he hasn't really been all that great during training camp, and the whole entire linebacker position when it comes to inside linebacker outside of Devin Bush hasn't really been all that encouraging, which is the reason why the Steelers went out and traded for Joe Schobert with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on not just Robert Spelaine, but the whole entire inside linebacking unit. Useless Grant, I'm looking at Buddy Johnson, because I thought Robert Spelaine was going to end up taking over. I thought that this job was his to lose, but apparently he hasn't really had a great camp and a great preseason. So keep my eyes on not just him, but the whole entire inside linebacking core for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is it for my Lions versus Steelers preseason preview. Let me know some positions that you're going to be watching down in the comment section down below. What are some players that you're going to be keeping your eyes on?